Welcome back to Proof of Culture, the podcast where we dive deep into the movers, shakers, and the builders in the Web3 ecosystem. This season, you might have noticed that we are not just skimming the surface, but we are diving headfirst into powerful narratives and creative forces that are shaping the future of culture and inclusivity in this space. Today's episode features none other than Latasha. Latasha is a powerhouse. She's an artist, she's a Web3 pioneer, and one of the most vocal advocates for empowering creators through decentralization. From breaking boundaries with her music, to using blockchain to foster autonomy and ownership for artists, Latasha has redefined what it means to be an artist in the modern world. Today, we plan to explore her journey, the challenges she's faced, her vision for the future, and a behind-the-scenes look at how she's continuing to shape the landscape for BIPOC and women creators in Web3. Get ready to be inspired by Latasha's story of resilience, innovation, and culture building. Let's go. One of my favorite people in Web3.
What's up, Sean? You're one of my favorite people.
Aww.
I literally told Ja before I got here, I was like, I'm seeing Sean today.
Obviously, we're here to talk about your wonderful trajectory. You are literally, like I said, one of my favorite people in the space. Just a definitive voice, amazing talent, and the perfect example, I think, of lifting as you climb. And I think that is my favorite thing about you is like you get one or two rungs up on the ladder and you always reach back and try to pull people up with you. So
Thank you
for that. Thank you for that. So let me ask you, how did you get here to Web3? What is your origin story?
Wow, it's such a massive journey. I have been a musician for about 10 years and I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Started out with music very accidentally. I got out of school at Wesleyan University and I thought I was going to go to Broadway because I was writing plays in college.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it was like hip hop plays. And then before I knew it, I was like, oh, you're not going to be Lin-Manuel. You're going to be Little Kim. So I started rapping and doing ciphers and poetry slams in New York City. And then that turned into me just forging this path as an artist and rapper. But I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't study music business. I was not rapping in the basement since I was like 12 years old. I literally just had this innate talent for poetry and word and rhyme and performance. And so it just took me to this. And I like to say I manifested a lot of my journey. Fast forward, kind of hated how the music industry was running, especially for women, especially for Black creatives, feeling as though we weren't really receiving all of the value for our music and energy. I have a law background, so I kind of understand all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, hate this, got to figure out something else. And I started walking in the route of independence to build my leverage and understand who Latasha is in value for real. And for 5 to 6 years, I was not working like a regular 9 to 5. I was fully doing shows, booking myself, self-managing, doing it all. I was sending fake PR emails to people, trying to get my music out there. And, you know, a lot of it worked and a lot of it didn't. I had my ups and downs with it. And then we moved to California right before the pandemic. And lo and behold, right during the pandemic, we were like, oh, snap, we need something else to get our footing. I always say I feel like we manifested Web3 through all of the things that I've been through because I understood independence. I understood the necessity for self-sovereignty. I understood I wanted to get rid of the middleman. Yeah. And so the day that my partner came in, Ja, he was like, you ever heard of crypto art? And I was like, what the hell is that? And then we just started running. And I'm always forever grateful for that time period because it really changed my life. And getting into Web3 has been such a transformative transformative state for me.
I'm going to ask two questions about Java. We'll leave that until later. That you refer to yourself as a polymath creatrix.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I'm assuming what that means is that, you wear multiple hats, singer, songwriter, rapper, producer, performing artist, but talk a little bit about how these different creative outlets inform and inspire each other.
Yeah, totally. I feel like I can't make music without visual, and I can't see visual without music. So they definitely work together, and performance is, to me, part of the visual aspect and also connects with the resonant aspect, right? Like when you see a performance, you feel an artist, you feel the person. And so they all kind of just interconnect. The production came in later. Like I didn't start out as a producer, but later on I started diving into producing because I wanted to find my own voice and understand what I wanted sound to be like for Latasha. Like, what is my world sound like? And so I started producing to start figuring that out for myself. And then as for like creative direction and all that kind of stuff, it kind of all just happened because I didn't have money to get a creative director. I didn't have the money to get a graphic designer or, people to always edit. And so I had to learn how to do it myself. And before I knew it, I was getting really good at all of them.
So was it a necessity is the mother of invention type thing, or were those things that you always wanted to do anyway?
Nah, necessity is definitely the mother of invention. Like, I did not think I wanted to do pretty much a lot of the things that I do right now. I always wanted to be an artist, but I was just scared too because of my family as a kid. As a kid, I used to steal the karaoke mic from everybody and dress up like I was TLC and do all that. So I know deep down performance and music was always something that I cared about. But as for everything else, it kind of just came into play when I realized who I wanted to become as an artist. And that meant learning all of these traits.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that recently you've been doing kind of a build in public approach as you explore like developing your voice, your actual singing voice. I'd love for you to talk about the impetus behind that, because it appears that it is deeply personal. Watching it from the sidelines, I'm like, I wish I could do something like that. But the amount of times that I start writing a tweet and then I delete it and don't do anything. And I'm like, Natasha's just out here sharing and it's beautiful to watch. But I'd love for you to talk about just what hurdles did you encounter, your own internal hurdles in doing that? I'm sure it's been an inspiration for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I always wanted to sing. I just was always told different things about my voice as a singer. Like, I used to sing flat and I didn't know what the technical things were for singing. I used to have people be like, oh, you don't know how to sing, girl, like, nah, and things like that. And then getting into rap was like an allowance to open up that voice, but it wasn't singing. It was an easier form of that, right? And I know singers too. I know some singers, you know what I mean? I always felt held back from doing it. But recently, I've been evolving in my sound so much, and I know that rap is not always going to be the thing I want to do. I'm going to want to stretch and do other things. And so I've been getting back to fully embracing singing in my voice. I used to do it like back in the day, but now I'm really like, okay, this is where I want to anchor myself for a lot of years. I want to be able to take my voice into different dimensions and be different characters. And singing is one of those characters. And so as for the sharing portion of it, I feel like sharing allows me to have accountability to actually make it happen. And my beautiful audience, thank you, like all my fans and supporters and investors, they're on my Twitter asking me, hey, have you sung today? You know, like things like that. And that's really sweet to have people actually care about this journey with me. And it really holds me accountable. The last thing I'd say, as for sharing, I went to Jadena's listening party. And one of the things that he said was like, the word of the year is share. And it really stood with me because so much we hold back and keep to ourselves, but do those things ever really grow? And do we want them to grow? And I think sharing is the way that we actually see them grow and evolve in time. So I've been trying my best to do better at sharing more of myself.
That is definitely food for thought, because in a very, very literal way, can something grow if it's not in the light, right? And the only, if you keep it hidden, you are preventing it from flourishing and getting all, that's deep. I'm going to have to take that. I'm going to take that personally as a call to action. I wonder too, as you were talking about how you've always wanted to sing, and it seemed like maybe there was this line between rapping and singing, like rapping is rapping, that is not singing. And I wonder if you're at all inspired by, like, there's a whole new crop of female rappers who are also singing as well. I think about people like Doja Cat, and even Nicki Minaj is doing some singing. But back in the day, it was just like rap. And that don't sing, don't try to sing, even if you can sing, just, you know what I mean? How much of that influenced you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Doja Cat and Nicki too. And so I will say maybe subconsciously it's influencing me, but I think innately I'm getting older too. And I just like, girl, I'm not trying to rap for the next 20 years of my existence. Like, my dream is to be able to sing something like a house singer would do on a record, and to be able to like fully belt and really go in when I'm in my 50s and 60s, and people will be like, oh my God, I'm gonna go see Latasha, and lots of diva shit at that point, what I mean? That's goals for me. So this is the practice of getting to that point where I'm going to be showing it. But yeah, these women coming out right now are so incredible and so inspiring. I love all the women rappers coming out right now, because I keep seeing doors open every time they come out with something. I'm thinking about even like Megan Thee Stallion, who just released that new record Cobra, where she's super vulnerable and open about her life right now. And I was like, man, I remember when I first started rapping, if I even tried to cry on a record, people was like, girl, take that out of here, But now it's like a different world, and I'm really grateful and excited for that and to be a part of it too.
I love that you mentioned vulnerability, because in many ways it feels like as Black women, we are often not allowed or expected to be vulnerable.
Right.
And there's this trope of the strong Black woman. It's like, but when do we get to be soft? When do we get to cry, to grieve, to deal with all of, just our femininity? And I feel like what's beautiful for me, especially about your work, whether it's visual or whether it's music, is you're exploring these themes of like femininity and autonomy and love and transcendence and self-empowerment and manifestation. Like, talk about how you're incorporating all of these concepts into your music and your art, and why they're so important.
To be honest, I don't know how I'm doing it, but I know it's getting done. I think truly it's just a part of who I am to care about all those things. At the root, I think I care about the world seeing Black women as multidimensional beings, and understanding that we are human, right? While we're being multidimensional and being superheroes for people, we are also very much so human, and deal with all the aspects that anybody else would deal with, and maybe even more so in some cases, And so if anything that I want to provide to the world is that reminder that you can cry, you can break down, you can also not cry and be fun and have a good time, or you can be numb and chill. And all those parts are important. And I think sometimes as Black people, we feel like we all are in a monolith, but we're not. Like, we are all very different and have had different experiences and narratives. And so I want to offer that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Latasha, you talk a lot about manifesting, whether it's, verbally you talk about it, it's on your timeline a lot. Tell me what that means to you as an artist.
I'll start with, I think being an artist is a spiritual journey. I think when I am creating, it's through me and some sort of higher source energy or being. And not to get all woo-woo, but I do believe that
You can get as woo-woo as you want. We are woo-woo on proof of culture.
I believe that when you take the step of doing this, you have to do the practices and rituals to see through the things that you want to see in your life. And oftentimes what I've noticed with artists that are like, hey, I want to be this thing, or I want to see this thing come through, but it's not happening for me. It's taking too long to happen. The reason why that's happening, and this is including myself, the reason this is happening is because we're not incorporating that spiritual element into our practice. Oftentimes we witness people just being in the material world and realm and just concerned about the logistics and how to get it done. And yes, that is very important to understand those sides, but it's even more crucial to know the other side of it, which is that spirituality, that manifestation of capabilities. I believe that all of us are manifestors. And when you utilize your chakras even, or utilize all the tools within yourself, that can help and assist the manifestation of the things that you want to see. I believe that manifestation is our key to building the world, honestly, and like making the world how we want it to be. So it's a big part of my practice and life. And I don't know who I would be without all the work that I've done in manifestation. I might have been a whole different girl at the bank.
Well, I mean, you've manifested all of this so far, so I think it'll be really interesting to see what comes next.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Let's switch gears a little bit, because we're talking about this Web3 thing. So, how does Web3 lend itself? You made a very conscious decision to stay independent and not go down a different road. Tell me about how Web3 facilitates that, or lends itself to your desire to not just to start out as an independent, but I'm thinking that you want to stay that way as well. So a certain level of autonomy associated with that.
I always have a joke that I say, when I'm tired and I don't feel like doing anything anymore, that's when I'm gonna sign a deal, because then just somebody else could work for me. But until then, independence has really it's a really challenging road, especially when you don't have tools like Web3, I think having these tools that Web3 has offered me allows me to find my Patreons. It allows me to find just people that want to collaborate and support with me. It allows me to tell my story in a different way, and also allows me to be on that, I want to say, new road. I feel like a new lane. And it allows me to do things that people would never believe could get done. A lot of times people will tell me, oh, you can't do that because it's too much funding, or it's too expensive, or you can't, see this or that. And there's so many times that Web3 has proved it wrong. Like I've been able to do so much in this short period of time. I mean, 3 years, I've been able to take my writers to Jamaica with me, to write my albums with me. I've been able to work on a film. I've been able to manifest so much without worrying about how I'm going to do it.
Right.
And it's because I think the beauty of Web3 is that storytelling aspect. It's the ability for people to follow your journey through blockchain and see what you released and watch it all rise, There's so much I want to say about this space. There's days where I'm like trying to still calculate all of the words I want to say about it. But at the root of it, this thing has really helped me heal my money wounds and has helped me heal some blocks that were, because you don't have it, you can't do it. And now I don't feel like that. I feel like I have everything I need. Now I just got to do it. And
right. So, sounds like there was, you moved from an attitude of lack to one of more abundance.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
But it's ironic because the space still has a lot of questions on lack, a lot of questions on who's getting more, who's getting less. And what I will say I found in this space also is this ability to commune and connect with people and offer different insights based on who I am and what I believe in, you know? And it's been able to help other artists and let them see the light for themselves too.
Artists. Now you can stand out in Web3 with Art Scout International. We provide personalized representation that amplifies your voice and connects your work to collectors who truly value your craft. Let us help you reach the audience your art deserves. Elevate your presence with Art Scout. Well, for those who don't know, you are also head of community programming at Zora.
Just head of community now. So
just head of community.
Yeah, just head of community now.
Okay. And you also created Zoratopia.
Yes.
So for those who may not know what Zoratopia is, I'd love for you to explain that to people.
Yeah, Zoratopia is a educational program and a community that also throws events to connect with community. It's all community built. It's all Web3 artist built. And pretty much we started this thing out as a Zoom call where people could learn about Web3 through me. I would just give them all the information, answer all the questions. That started with like 40 people attending each Zoom call. It wove into events. And before we knew it, those events were getting like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people pulling up. And by the end of the year, we had 4,000 subscribers trying to get to know what Zora is, what Zoratopia is, and what Web3 is. And I'm really grateful that we got to onboard so many people into the space through it because, I mean, it changed so many lives, for real.
I mean, that's huge, though, when you think about, I think part of the promise of Web3 is the sovereignty, the autonomy, the immutable nature of it. But getting people from point A to point B is massive. And so the work that you've done to educate people and onboard them, I think is huge because, and it aligns so well with, you know, what we're doing at the blockchain. There's always been alignment there, but I just think you onboarding that many people it's massive. I mean, we're talking about a real sea change. Yeah. Do you focus mostly on musical artists or you just artists in general, or is there a special sweet spot for you?
I mean, naturally, there'll be a special sweet spot for the music artists for me because I'm a music artist, but we've onboarded everyone from visual to music to film to all over the mediums. Mm-hmm. But at our events, we highlight music artists and visual artists primarily. So we'll have like an art gallery usually during the event so you could see it, some installations from artists, and then we'll have these massive performances from artists in the space too.
Mm-hmm. Where would the next Zoratopia be?
But
no alpha
on Zoratopia yet, but some things are definitely popping off. I will say that.
Good. So just expanding a little bit on Zora. Zora is now, I think when I came into this space, Zora was one of the many marketplaces. Obviously, the space has gone through massive shifts and changes. And Zora is now its own network and is really doing a lot in terms of minting media. And I'd love to hear a little more about that. I feel like it really ties into this concept that I've been exploring called creative immortality, which is like, it's important for us to mint the culture, right?
Yes,
exactly. Whether it's music or art or poetry or even this podcast. My plan is to mint these podcasts so that they're available to everyone and essays and things like that. And I love that it seems like what Zora's doing is tapping into this idea that the culture needs to live on chain. Right. And I think that's what y'all are doing. I think to a degree, it might be what Base is doing as well. But I'd love for you to talk, if you can, about this transition from being a marketplace to a network and what the opportunities you think that holds for artists.
Yeah, I think the beauty of Zora becoming a network, especially on L2, is this ability for us to transcend farther than Zora, right? And it's more about the people. Yeah. It's not so much about the tool anymore. The idea of us having a network in other platforms could come and utilize our network, other artists could build on top of our network, things of that nature. It's taking us farther. It's allowing us to connect in different ways that we didn't connect before. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the L2 factor of it all, like gas fees being lower, amazing.
Virtually non-existent, man.
Pretty much non-existent gas fees, which is incredible. And the other part of Zora is that the tools are getting even easier to utilize. So we're witnessing less education being needed to offer onboard people. We're watching like the barrier of entry really, really shrink. And so it's really exciting. We're in a really exciting time for Zora. And overall in the space, I think just people realizing the deeper benefit of this is keeping culture immortal, like you're saying, like keeping culture alive and immortal and forever being seen through the blockchain. And Zora is a part of that. And so, yeah, I don't even know. The Zora network is about to be massive. So we'll watch this thing grow. Every other day, there's like another platform or collective or somebody who's pulling up to Zora network. So it's really fire to watch.
It's great. It's really great. I mean, and I would just speak to, as you know, I try to support as many artists as I can and bring them into the blockchain collection. And it's just, there's so much good work there. Like every day I'd carve out like maybe 30 minutes to go scroll through the Zora homepage to see what I could pick up, because there's so much good art and it's not super expensive. And it's a wonderful way to be able to support creators, right?
Exactly. And especially with protocol rewards now too, like that.
Talk a little bit about that. Explain what that is.
Yeah, protocol rewards became this new initiative for us to ask collectors to pay for the art. And now artists could automatically receive rewards when they release things for free on Zora. So if you release a piece for free, your collector will usually pay $1, and then that is split between yourself and the platform. And so I've witnessed artists make buco money for something that was free.
Yeah.
I mean, Ja was a beautiful example of that. He made, I think, he had over 24K mints or something like that for
Mecca Gardens, the trailer.
Mecca Garden trailer. And then,
awesome.
You know, split that with Zora. And like, that was it. And people often ask, like, why does Zora get a split? And it's to keep the platform running, of course.
Just the fact that they're sharing that with the creator is huge, because, I mean, obviously, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that OpenSea, which was the largest network, the largest platform, decided to do away with that. And that had a knock-on effect all across the entire ecosystem. And so I know that Yuga just announced that they're going to be launching a marketplace and they will be honoring creator royalties. But I wonder if you could just speak generally about your thoughts about creator royalties, and should they be a thing? Should they not be a thing? I think I know where you stand on it, but I'd love to.
Oh, you know, I'm here for any royalty, anytime, everything. If I could get a royalty every time I speak, I'd take one, you know, because I think royalties show the further value of the art and the work, right? And I think about artists that do fine art a lot and how they never got a royalty, you know? So like they'll sell a piece to Sotheby's and then that's it. You never see anything else from that. And what we were doing was showing the further value back in the day when everything had a royalty. And now, you know, like Zora doing protocol rewards, even Zora has other rewards too for like collectors, etc. We're really witnessing people get the further value of the art, you know, because art forever has value and an artist should be paid for that value forever, right? And that's the question of if art has a price, and what we're saying is it's infinite, you know?
Yeah. I agree 100%. I often try to tell people, I was like, oh, I've collected over 400 pieces of artwork. And they're like, oh, how much is it worth? And I'm like, it's worth a lot to me. It's worth a lot to the artist when I buy it. But I don't sit around going, oh, now I have 600 pieces that are worth approximately. I'm not thinking about that. I see something that resonates with me and I buy it and I support the artist in every way that I can. And that's the end of it. And I think that is like the beautiful thing about this space, is I always try to tell people, if you want to be a collector, you can fly to New York and you can go to Chelsea to one of those galleries, but you probably can't afford anything that's in there. Right. And there's so many talented artists here who are making beautiful art that you can collect And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, some of it obviously is, but it's just a wonderful way to start your journey as a collector and to also give back to up and coming artists. So yes, I am with you on the creator royalties. I think it's a little bit of a travesty that OpenSea decided to go that route.
You know how I said my scoop on OpenSea, but we're not going to do that because
we're going to try to keep it clean and above board.
But, I will say everybody's going through some motions in every platform, and I will give grace for that because I understand that everything is going through some situation.
Absolutely. Now, you've spoken at quite a few conferences about your journey as an independent artist and just also finding your own personal path. I wonder if you can share some insights or some lessons that you've learned along the way with folks who might be considering entering the space or just other artists who are out there listening.
I will say some things that I wish I knew when I first got in was that there are tools out there to really support you in knowing how much you're making and what to do with what you have. Mm-hmm. One of those tools is Woven, which I'm really excited to be utilizing right now. It's WOVN if anybody's interested in it. It tells you all of your collectors, how much you're making. Another really great tool is Bello. Bello allows you to also see how much you're making, but they add on like what you should release next, like what would be a good thing to release next and what price point to release the next thing as well. So those are some really fire tools that I wish I had when I first walked into the space, and now they're available for anybody. The other part I would say is prepare yourself with good mental strength. It is volatile for real. I feel like a lot of times artists came into the space expecting it to always stay on one level, and that's not how this market works, or any market really works, right? You're gonna have to go up and down. And in those down moments, I really, really push artists to understand that there are other things to work on. You could be building on your album while the market is bare. You could be working with other artists, building your own tools while the market is bare. Just keep working, right? That is the literal thing that you're going to want to do, because oftentimes we feel just caught up in the bareness, I guess, of it all. And I like to say that the bear market was my time to hibernate. It's my time to really get to the core of what Latasha needs right now, build on the parts that I was not building on when I was in the bull market, because I was working every single day when I was in the bull market. Mm-hmm. And this bear market is really like, oh yeah, we could go and retreat and find the things that we need to harvest and work through. So those are my offerings to any artist coming into the space.
I think that's beautiful. I think that what has been interesting to see has been that you're right. When ETH was almost at $4,000, everybody was dropping art every day. It was great. Money was falling from the sky. People were happy. And then the bottom literally fell out. And I think it's a testament to those artists who have stayed in the space and who are still continuing to work on the craft during this time. And it's a great shaking out, filtering period, right? Because a lot of people have left, and no shade to those who have had to leave. It's quite difficult to stay. There are moments where I'm like, I'm so over this, and I keep coming back, but it's been wonderful to see those who have stayed and, like you said, taking advantage of the new tools that have been released during this market. And I think that better prepares you for when things are back on the upswing.
Yeah, one thing that Ja always says that I love is that Web3 is a Home Depot, right? It's not a town, it's not homies hanging out, it's none of that. It's tools. It's tools. And so we have the right to leave and come back to Home Depot. Nobody is living in Home Depot right now unless you're into that kind of thing. You're there to get your tools, do what you got to do, and get back out there. The only way that we're going to expand in this space is when we get out there, when we show those tools that we use and get to the other side of it, right? Like, go out, talk to other communities. Don't just talk to people in the Web3 Home Depot. Like, talk to people everywhere and let them know what you've been up to, and also let them know what it's been like. It has been up and down, but as an artist, I'm used to risk. I'm used to understanding what that means, because that's my whole existence. I've taken risks my whole time,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people got caught up with this idea that everybody needs to stay in the space at all times. I'm like, nah, let's be human and really see that people need time. And a lot of people are going to come back. Watch. And for the ones who come back, we can't be upset with them either. People are people and they got to do what they got to do to maintain,
I am just going to tell you right now and tell Ja I will be stealing the Web3 is Home Depot analogy.
I let him know.
It is perfect. It's like you come in, you get what you need, but you're right. Nobody's living there,
Nobody should be living there. Nobody should be living there.
I love it so much. So great. Now, Latasha, you have been working on an album. Tell us what we can expect from this album without giving away too much. Can you share anything about this album? Like when maybe?
Of course. Well, the goal is for spring of 2024. I am so grateful for Ocelot and Zora, who have been already parts of investing on this project. So it's showing again that there are people out there that want to support creatives in building their own stuff. I feel like this project has been 10 years in the making, to be honest, but I want to say that the project is about so many layers. And for one, the biggest part of the project today that I'm feeling the project is about writing a project.
The project about a project.
But it is a massive piece of work. It also has a film component that's coming, like a short film, and a podcast that's coming with it as well.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Well, can't wait. And as usual, more than happy to support.
Thank you so much.
I wonder if you can share a little bit about why you think Web3 is a worthy option, particularly for marginalized people of color, queer folks. I know that you have a special affinity for those communities, just like I do. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
When I get real deep on this, I get real deep, but I really do believe that Web3 is in alignment with the retribution that a lot of these communities needed. I think Web3, I like to say Web3 came from my ancestors, but that's getting real Hoteption. But I do believe that it is offering a lot of retribution to communities that have needed and have been neglected on their needs. And I push for this to go to queer communities, Black communities, people of color communities, and women communities, because I feel like the story also of each of these communities will allow them to leverage in this space. This space, to me, is about transparency. It's about receiving and healing the wounds that we had with money and capitalism. It's about finding community. And a lot of us have felt like we haven't had any of that. Yeah. And so, it still comes with its up and downs. We still know what this space is. This space is still very much so white and male and all the things. But at the root of it, when you find the right communities in the space, this thing could really change your mind and your heart about what it is to be an artist. And I know it's done that for me. It's definitely allowed me to see that I could be the fullest version of myself.
Beautiful. Talk about the camaraderie and the community that you've built with some of the other musical artists. I know a couple. I know there's Iman. I know there's Hano, Jamie Cornelia, maybe Piff, a couple of other people. I know that there's community there. I wonder if you could share a little bit about how y'all help each other out.
It's been really dope. This is the first time I'm actually, for an album, getting songwriters to be a part of my project. And a lot of them are from the Web3 space. I mean, we've gotten everybody from Domino to Jamie Cornelia, TK on the project supporting me, Taro. And it's just really cool to see these artists be actually so fire too. Like, more fire than a lot of things that I've heard out there in the streets. You know what I mean? And I'm so grateful because it also feels very no ego involved in a lot of these ways. And I also worked with Heno and Iman on some of these projects and stuff. And again, it's been like trying to clear the ego is a big, big aspect that I think Web3 is enforcing artists to do, because this space is not about competition. It's about community. And so I'm witnessing us really try to tap into that idea more and more. And yeah, there's days where these artists are still very much so in their ego and we still be artists.
Sure.
But I feel like there's more communication now. I feel like now there's a bit more transparency, a lot more communication. I feel like I've asked artists questions that I never would ask before, and like have been real about things that I never would have been real about before. I would have just been like, whatever, I don't really mess with that artist no more. But now I feel like we have such a tight-knit group that we have to communicate. We have to connect with each other and know what each other is feeling and going through, et cetera, et cetera. And so this space has really evolved the musician mind, I think.
Yeah. So with your album, when you release it, will it be released like on the blockchain? And for the collabs, is that going to be managed via splits and everything is going to be transparent and immutable?
Yep.
Fantastic.
We're doing all of those things because Latasha is going to be working on her own.
I love it.
That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, we'll be manifesting my signage.
Fair enough. I'm not going to pry. I think we touched on some of the challenges, but what are the opportunities that you've encountered as a fully independent artist working on the blockchain? What are some of the opportunities that you say? So if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm an artist and I'm considering moving into the space, talk about some of the positives, the opportunities, because I think Web3 has a reputational problem.
Oh, definitely.
That you ask any random person, including my mom, she's going to talk about Sam Bankman-Fried and scams. That's all she knows about. It's, people getting robbed and FTX. Talk about what the opportunities are for independent artists in the space.
The grandest opportunities that I found is this ability to find community for real and like people who really want to show up for you and show up for your art. When I first started in Web3, I didn't have a fan base that would pay everything that I released, right? Like I felt like I had a fan base who would go on Spotify, listen to my music, and then maybe buy some merch. But now I'm like, oh, I'm releasing art and my fans are like, I want that. I want to collect that. I want to be a part of Latasha's journey. That's one side. The other side is like finding this community of people that I could talk to about my journey, right? And ask questions, be inspired, see what people are going through, also what I'm going through. That's another side. The third side that I don't think people take advantage of enough in understanding is networking with folks who have the capabilities of supporting culture and investing in culture. I think people like CXY, like you, Sean, you guys care about the investment in culture. And we don't see that anymore. When I say culture, I mean like music, art, religion, or whatever, like all the things that you care about in life. That to me is culture. And there's people here that care and want to resonate with those parts. And so if you have a dope project and something that you really care about, if you take the time to understand Web3, release, do the parts and tell your story, you will find people who are willing to support you in funding and investing in your work the way you want to be invested in. So those are my 3 top favorite things about Zora. But not Zora, Web3, but community, and investment.
So I said I would double back to Ja. Ja, your partner, is not only responsible for introducing you to Web3, but he is a notable NFT artist as well. I've collected quite a few of his pieces. Like you mentioned, he just released this amazing trailer for his upcoming film, which I think he's going to release. Is it next week? Short film done in AI, gorgeous graphic, great work. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about what it's like to be in not just a creative partnership, but a life partnership with someone else. Like it's a lot of interaction. And I don't know if it works for, some people, it would be hard to navigate. So talk to me about how you guys navigate that.
Yeah, I mean, Ja's the most incredible person to be on this journey with, to be honest. And I'm so grateful that he's my life partner. We just share a lot. And we also give each other space. Don't get me wrong. We're not on top of each other 24/7 because I would lose my mind. But we share a lot and understand like what it is to be in this space together. I think that's something I'm forever grateful for. I could go and talk to Ja about some wild thing that happened in the space, and he could be like, here are my thoughts, and kind of put me back into alignment. And I think I do that for him too. And I'm really just happy to have somebody that I could focus in with, and stay on the path and stay on the vision, because it's so easy to kind of lose your way in things when you don't have the right communities and collectives and people around you. And Ja is that also for me. I have a lot of other community, but I feel like having someone at home that I could really be like, it allows me to know and manifest my world faster, I think, too. And him on the other side. And yeah, I'm so proud of him too. He inspires me. I think we inspire each other. We also are like, oh, you doing that? I'm doing this, and it's really fun to have somebody like that you could work together and see things with. But deep down, it's just this deep reminder of love is here, There is love in this space too. There's so many people that I feel like we love in the space, and I love Ja, and then I just have love here,
Mm-hmm.
And even when times are rough or we're dealing with some nastiness in the Home Depot, because people do nasty things in Home Depot sometimes, we have each other, and the reminder of love is constant there. So that's the spiel for Ja.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I wasn't going to say this again, but I do recall a certain time a while back in the Twitter spaces where somebody referred to y'all as the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Web3. I'm just going to I'm going to put it down and leave it right there. I'm not going
to. This season, Ja is Beyonce.
Until your album drops. Then you're back to me.
Yeah. We switch off.
Wonderful. I love the partnership that you both have, and I just think it's so beautiful. So keep that going. In closing, Latasha, let me ask you our last question that we ask all of our guests here on Proof of Culture. Tell me what culture means to you.
Culture is what makes us more than just a body. I think culture is the thought, the being, the sound, the art, everything that makes us more than just a numb body in the world. When you have culture, you have vigor, you have spice, you have some salt. And
seasoning.
And I think I can't eat no bland chicken. And I think culture is that seasoning for us. It allows us to taste who we are and understand all the aspects of who we are. And so, yeah, culture to me is what makes us more than just some regular nothingness out here. Culture is everything, to be real, but that's what I kind of categorize it as.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day.
Of course, no worries.
To chat with me. Let me stop recording. As we wrap up this inspiring episode of Proof of Culture, I want to thank Latasha for sharing her powerful journey, her insights, and her vision for a more inclusive and artist-driven Web3 future. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that through decentralization and community, creators can reclaim their power and reshape industries that have long marginalized them. If Latasha's work resonated with you, and I'm sure it did, make sure to follow her journey and support her ongoing mission to elevate artists and creators across the globe. This conversation is just the beginning, and we are excited to see the impact that she continues to make in the space. Stay tuned for more episodes where we explore the people driving culture forward in Web3. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your community. Until next time, keep building, keep creating, and stay true to the culture.